All right, folks, welcome in. It is the latest edition here of College Basketball Coast to Coast as the Round of 32 Saturday edition has now played out, and we are now whittling our way down to the Sweet 16. 8 teams have advanced to the Sweet 16. One huge upset that we will get to. That's Arkansas knocking out the number 2 seed St. John's. We love, we love recapping all of this. I am merely TJ Rives as we come to you on the platforms of College Basketball Coast to Coast, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I have my wingman Jason Powers with me. What are you from parts unknown here tonight? I always love the insight wherever. It doesn't matter where we are, right? You and I 7 nights ago were in Atlantic City, and then spent most of Sunday trying to figure out, are we going to get back to the Sunshine State? Now we're in the Sunshine State of Florida. Good to be back with you as we saw a bevy of interesting games with top seeds like Auburn and Houston advancing. Again, 2 seed St. John's did not. A wild BYU Texas Wisconsin game.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Craziness all over the board. Jason, how are you on this Saturday?
Things are good. I'm trying to be a man of the people, but I'm here for TJ Rives anytime you need me, man. Sitting in my car.
I love that about being man of the people. All right, coming up in a bit, Matt Zemek, our Western Bureau Chief from Arizona. He'll have lots of thoughts, I'm sure, on what we've seen today, not just in the West. Gonzaga battled hard with Houston. UCLA, not so much with Tennessee tonight. But Matt will have thoughts on everything, including the Arkansas upset, as well as Michigan doing what they did impressively with Texas A&M. Purdue, all the way back at the beginning of the day, wiped out McNeese, one of the upstart teams. So we've got a lot to go over here. Matt will be here. We're also hoping to catch up with our mutual buddy, our Tampa brother from another mother, Vince Ferrara, from 99.1 FM, the sports animal radio station in Knoxville, as well as the Tennessee Vols radio network. Vince has been OL on location all weekend in Lexington, Kentucky. He has seen the 2 matchups tonight where Auburn has won over Creighton, and Tennessee has just put the finishing touches on an easy win over UCLA. So the 1 seed in the South, the 2 seed in the Midwest have both advanced. Vince was there. He's got post-game duties with the Vol broadcast. If Vince is able to be with us, he'll be with us as well. So we look forward to all of that. Thank you for finding us here on the social media platforms. We'll take your comments if you're watching us via YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter as we go along. We're also in podcast form on the College Basketball Coast to Coast podcast feed, as well as the TuneIn channel. All right, Jason, let's begin here with the upset of the day, and that is Arkansas stunning St. John's. The thing I hearken back to, and Matt's going to be with us in a few minutes, is he warned of this. He was not the only one. St. John's is essentially, I'm paraphrasing, playing with fire, falling behind in the first half and expecting to come on in the second half. And it burned them today as Arkansas built the lead in the first half and really outplayed them down the stretch of the season, of the game. Your thoughts on the Arkansas upset of the Big East top team in Providence this afternoon?
And the other part of this equation we've talked about with St. John's for several weeks, their inability to make three-point shots. They made a bunch in round 1 when it didn't really matter, but when it was nut crunching time today, they couldn't throw it in the ocean. And then you have the controversy in the last 7-8 minutes. The player of the year in the Big East, RJ Luis, sitting on the pine. Pitino doesn't even look at him on the bench, making substitutions, doesn't play another minute the rest of the way.
Yeah, our colleague Adam Zagoria was covering it right there for NJ.com in Providence. He reported after the game, and the press conference is out there as well on video where you can watch it, that Pitino basically dodged a couple of pointed questions about why did you not put him back in. He was not injured. He went to the bench earlier in the game. It was believed, they were talking about this on the game broadcast, Jason, that he wasn't playing defense well enough. He had missed a lot of shots in the game. This guy averages 21 a game. He's the leading scorer not only on St. John's team, he's the leading scorer in the Big East. And in the final 4.5 minutes of a close game, a 4-point, 5-point game, he never saw the floor. It was mystifying. I don't know if he angered Pitino when he came out of the game, but to your own detriment, what are you doing there when you need his scoring at the end of the game? You're seriously telling everybody a team that has trouble scoring doesn't need its best scorer? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense,
I'm with,
Jason. One more point.
I'm with you. He was what, 3 for 17 when he left the game. He took some wild shots when he was in the game, not very offensive friendly. And I think Pitino made a couple comments in the press conference. Our ball movement was terrible, which means RJ Luis probably has behind a backhanded dig at him that he wasn't involving the offense at all and just kind of hero balling it. And that you've not seen that in a big tournament spot by a big coach in a long time, where the star player, not just a good player. This guy was the Big East Player of the Year, All-American potential. This guy sits on the pine for the last 7-8 minutes and doesn't even sniff getting off the bench.
And such an amazing season goes down the drain, down the stretch. Okay, let's flip it back over, though. We got to talk more about Arkansas, obviously, and the job that John Calipari did, but his players did. Wagner in the backcourt, making some big plays.
Fland.
John L. Davis
Yes.
experience. Boogie Fland is back, the New York phenom high school player. He's been injured with an injured hand. Just say something about Arkansas, which was an 0-5 team in the SEC. They regrouped. At the end of the year, they won 2 or 3 key games to make the tournament. They knock off Kansas Thursday, and now this, you got to say, this is the upset of the tournament so far with their win over St. John's. Say some more about Arkansas, if you want.
No doubt. And remember, they dodged major foul trouble. Ivasic fouls out with like 12 minutes to go. Adu had 4 fouls forever, and they never gave the ball to Ejiofor down in the low post to pressure Adu, which was another coaching issue with Pitino in that offense. But yes, who was the lefty for Arkansas? Is that Robinson or Copeland?
Richmond.
Richmond.
Billy Richmond was the left-handed player that made the 2 key shots. Yes.
He had a nice day. He had 16, 18 points, something like that, I think. Yes. He was in mid 16. Double figures. Yep. He had some big shots, and give Arkansas credit. They were they're only playing 7 guys. So it's not like they're 9-10 deep. They're playing 7 guys. They were in foul trouble. Give Calipari credit. They banged on the boards. That was a very physical game. You saw a lot of foul calls, a lot of calls that didn't get made. So give Calipari and that Arkansas team credit, because they went toe-to-toe with arguably the most physical team in America. And do you think the people in Fayetteville are happy they signed John Calipari?
Lord, yeah. They have to be. Brutal 3-point shooting from both teams. Arkansas, 2 of 19. St. John's even worse, 2 of 22. My God, Jason, I'm looking at 4 of 41 from 3-point range. So the 3-point shot was no factor. And again, for St. John's, their season goes down the drain. Unfortunately, you see this all the time where you're remembered for what did you do or not do in the NCAA tournament. They didn't even get out of the first weekend. And Arkansas, for all the knocking of the SEC, losing a bunch of games Thursday and Friday, Arkansas is not even one of the 7 or 8 best teams in the SEC, and they took them down. Calipari gets the upper hand. Again, we're live here on College Basketball Coast to Coast. If you folks have some comments, throw those in here on the program. But Calipari gets the last laugh right now, leaving Kentucky, and gets Arkansas into the Sweet 16, where they will play Texas Tech coming in the West Regional in San Francisco with this win. Go ahead.
And a nugget, remember, one of their best players is supposed to be back next week, Therio, who they thought might play today, but he wasn't quite ready. So they're getting another offensive guy next week, most likely, in the Therio kid, who's, I think, their second leading scorer on the team. And how about the kid, Carter Knox? I believe he's a Tampa product.
Correct.
High school kid, the brother of Kevin Knox. The Knox family is a big high school family here in the Tampa Bay area. Produced 3 sons, I believe, that have played major Division I college basketball. He was very rugged on the boards today, so he got contributions from all 7 guys that he played. Ivasic was not good, but he ate up some fouls and he banged with Ejiofor down low. So look out here. This is an Arkansas team brimming with confidence.
Give credit where it is due again to Arkansas that outplayed Kansas when the game was on the line Thursday, and this game was right there for the taking. I mean, it's a 4-point game, 3-point game, and Arkansas made the plays, got a couple of stops, even in foul trouble, made free throws, at the end of this one, just in looking back on the box score, Arkansas did finish 19 of 27 from the foul line. So credit where it's due.
The last 3 minutes, St. John's was so desperate. They were just hoisting terrible shots when they were still down I think it was 4 points on a couple possessions in a row with like 2 minutes left in the game. And they just came down and Davon Smith was just hoisting threes. And you could tell Effior was not happy at the end of that game, not getting any touches in the last 6-7 minutes in the low post.
Again, we rock along on this Saturday night. Matt Zemek is due to join us in a few moments. We look forward to that. Let's move on to a couple of other games of intrigue. Again, Auburn had some problems with Creighton. They did. They trailed in the first half, but they did put it on Creighton in the second half of the game. They were just the bigger, more physical team at both ends of the floor, especially Broome and Cardwell underneath. They did a good job on Kalkbrenner, the big man for Creighton. They hit key shots, Auburn. Bruce Pearl, very experienced coach. Auburn moving on. What did you see out of them, Jason?
No, they've got all the parts. That's the thing about Auburn. They've got the guards. They've got some power players. They've got Broome. They've got Cardwell, who can kind of be your banger when you're playing a team that has a big man. Again, I think Auburn is, gaining more confidence. We know McDermott's a big tournament coach. Creighton's a really good program. So excellent win for Bruce Pearl. And I think I think they're going to the Final Four personally. So they're going to Atlanta, where they're going to have a huge home court advantage in Atlanta, with Auburn like an hour and a half down the road from Atlanta. So great win for Auburn. And again, be careful here if you're in that region, because Auburn's going to be the favorite.
Again, they will play Michigan, who won the game with Texas A&M, outscoring A&M down the stretch by about 15 points. They turned about a 4 or 5 point deficit into an easy win. And the Big Ten tournament champs look like the real deal. What a titanic battle that's going to be. And we're waiting on the other opponents between Ole Miss, Iowa State, and Michigan State, New Mexico, who will play tomorrow, on who else ends up in Atlanta. Also on the screen, we have it there that Houston has advanced. They did not have an easy final 5 minutes with Gonzaga. They held them down for the most part. Gonzaga made a run in the final 5 minutes, got the game down, Jason, to a one-possession game. But Houston got the key stop, made a couple of big free throws, and then elected not to foul in the final seconds, up by 3, and stopped Gonzaga. Gonzaga fumbled the ball on the sideline. Houston got the block shot, and then ended up sealing it with 2 more free throws for the 5-point win. So they moved to the Sweet 16 again under Kelvin Sampson to play Purdue. That guy's team is just going to take you out of what you want to do. I remember looking at one point in the first half, and Gonzaga literally had 1 3-point make and had about 12 points about 10 minutes into the game. This is who Houston is, Jason.
And the other thing that was impressive for me tonight, I didn't get to watch a bunch of this game. They scored tonight. They got to 80, correct? Was it 81, 75, 76?
Yes.
So that's encouraging for Houston, is that they scored. They didn't have to win 65-60. They were able to get into the high 70s, low 80s tonight. And I think that's good news for them moving forward, that their ability to score. Because, again, as good as we know Houston is, you can't keep every team at 60. Teams are going to score. We got some of these teams in these regions that can light it up. So for Houston to score 80 tonight, and I know Gonzaga's not a devastating defensive team, but they're good enough. I'm very impressed with them scoring 80 tonight.
And I'm just looking for their 3-point shooting, because they made several of them that were big. And looking at that box score tonight in Wichita, Houston finished 8 of 18 from 3-point range. 6 of those were LJ Cryer, the Baylor transfer, a couple each from Uzan, the Oklahoma transfer, and Emmanuel Sharp. Gonzaga got better as the game went on and made 9 3-pointers total for the game. They made all their foul shots too, 15 of 15. How would you like to make 9 threes, go 15 of 15 from the foul line, and you still can't beat Houston? They did score 76 points, but Kelvin Sampson's team looks the part. Again, regular season and Big 12 tournament champs. This is a veteran coach, veteran players again. It's a different group than the team he took to the Final Four back 4 years ago in 2021. but they look the part of a Final Four team here coming up.
What a showdown we could have. Tennessee, Houston next weekend. I think that's where we're heading in this region. I think Tennessee, give them credit. They locked down UCLA after the first 10 minutes. I think we're on a collision course for Tennessee, Houston, and to me that's a jump ball game. That's an either or game. Tennessee can defend. Tennessee can score enough. I think you got a classic matchup coming next weekend. Tennessee, Houston.
All right, and this may have been the game of the night.
Ooh, the tournament
between BYU and Wisconsin. Wild second round game won by the Cougars tonight. Here again, a team up by double figures in the closing moments. Great scoring run by Wisconsin. They didn't give up, but BYU held them off. Final possession down by a couple. And
down two.
Tanjay goes to the basket and is unable to get the shot to go down. They don't even get a look at a rebound for BYU to hang on 91-89. Richie Saunders finished with 25. Tanjay had 37.
Yes.
Leading the comeback. Great offensive game.
Tremendous.
What are your thoughts on BYU as the 6th seed moving on in the East Regional with the win over Wisconsin?
People, I told you last night on the show, BYU. And again, the next matchup is either Alabama or St. Mary's. I told you last night, I think the winner of that game tonight, BYU-Wisconsin's going to the Final 8. I love the way BYU plays offense. I also like that they have enough defensive interior with Traore and Keita that they can bang a little bit, and they got enough inside presence. I'm telling you, I love this BYU team. Richie Saunders, the kid from Turkey, I think Edmond or Egmon? Yeah,
right.
He is a flamethrower from the 3-point line. I like this BYU team.
You did call it. I had Texas Tech and Wisconsin in my bracket. Had Texas Tech too. They made it. I'm just looking back on what the largest lead was late in the game. They led 67-56 with 10 minutes to go.
Yep.
They led 75-63 with 8.5 minutes BYU to go. They led 88-76 with 4 minutes left. Wisconsin just wouldn't quit. Tanjay was the big catalyst, making a couple of threes, had an and one, had another huge bucket late in the game, and BYU tried to squander it a couple of times late in the game, but they hang on for the win. And again, they await the winner of Alabama and St. Mary's in the East Regional Showdown in Newark that will be coming up next weekend. Go ahead.
Did they eject the guy on the flagrant foul? See, correct. I thought that was maybe a flagrant foul, but not an ejection. And that was a big play in the game. That was a big play because BYU was up 10 at the point, would have had the ball, and that turned into a change of momentum there. What did you think on the ejection?
So I thought live, he elbowed him in the groin. He elbowed him in the crotch to create room. They went to a TV timeout. They reviewed it, and as was explained by the lead official,
I couldn't hear the volume.
And Gene Steratore backed it up that when you have contact like that, unnecessary contact to the groin, it is an automatic flagrant.
Wow. Okay.
And the referee explained, due to contact to the groin area that is essentially not part of the play, that's an automatic flagrant 2. And so Baker was the player for BYU ejected. BYU survived that ejection, actually had the lead again, like 6 points in the final minute, and almost gave it up, but almost doesn't matter. The Cougars are moving
survive
on. Survive and advance is absolutely right. And the Big 12 is smiling right now with that win, with the Houston win, with the Texas Tech win. Can they get one more from Arizona tomorrow in the game with Oregon? They're smiling right now. Speaking of the West, that is a good segue, is it not?
Excellent.
College basketball.
That's why you're a professional.
The West Coast Bureau Chief, the Western Bureau Chief is Matt Zemek. We can't do this without him. Here he is on college basketball coast to coast on a Saturday night. A man that wears many hats like we do here on the program. He's been monitoring UCLA and Tennessee. It's all over in Lexington. Tennessee has knocked the Bruins out in the round of 32 game. Matt Zemek, good to have you as you pop on with Jason Powers and me on college basketball coast to coast. While we're on the subject of BYU-Wisconsin, I know you were monitoring all things. Give me some takes on that game. Thoughts on it, please.
Well, today was a day when a lot of chickens came home to roost in college basketball. You and I, TJ, talked about St. John's with those first half deficits and those slow starts. Can't keep doing that. Chickens came home to roost in Providence. And then for Wisconsin, the good part of the Badgers, obviously, this year was that they could score with John Tonje, with Blackwell, their other weapons in the arsenal. Like, this was not your stodgy Bo Ryan type team. But today was a day when Wisconsin could have used a little more Bo Ryan, a little bit more Dick Bennett, a little more elbow grease. Couldn't stop BYU. And of course, BYU's on a roll and is a hot team and a good team, no question. Also, BYU playing in Denver, like it had to feel like an old-time WAC game for the Cougars. That helped them too. They were the lower seed, but they had the favorable geographical placement in Denver. But the other thing was, this wasn't just BYU shot making. There was a lot of great shot making from BYU, but BYU was out rebounding Wisconsin. BYU was getting on that offensive glass, lots of second chances. Wisconsin was just terrible on defense. So, Greg Gard, he reinvented this team into an offense-first team, but the chickens came home to roost at the defensive end of the floor for the Badgers.
Wild night tonight. Again, BYU victorious in that matchup. Matt, let's circle back to the games that you were monitoring and watching in this one, and go to the games in Lexington. That includes Tennessee outlasting UCLA tonight in Lexington. Give me a thought or two on UCLA going down to defeat. Big Ten finally took a couple of losses tonight with Wisconsin and with UCLA. How much do you credit Tennessee with what we saw this evening?
Oh, Tennessee was the much better team. This game ended 67-58, a 9-point game. One of the most lopsided 9-point games you'll ever see. McNeese over Clemson was the most lopsided 2-point game in the history of basketball. Show me a more dominant, uneven game that finished with a 2-point margin. So this was a dominant 9-point win for Tennessee. Tennessee was a good 16 to 20 points better throughout the second half. And so, following UCLA as I do for UCLA Wire, it's just like no UCLA fans were ever really excited about this season, right? And tonight was kind of the final affirmation of that. Because at UCLA, you don't play to get to the NCAA tournament. You don't play to win one game in the NCAA tournament. You're supposed to be competing at the very top tier of the sport. Now, this season was a lot better than last year. Last year, UCLA didn't even make the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So this year is a lot better. But really, in Westwood, who cares? And that is the standard. This is John Wooden University. So Mick Cronin has not come remotely close to elite status. This is what happens when you're a 7 seed, right? You get shipped out. You're playing a de facto road game in Lexington with a ton of Tennessee fans dominating the building, and you get played off the floor. Tennessee really didn't even play a very good first half, and yet was up 7 because UCLA was committing turnovers. And we saw the limitations of this team, this UCLA team. The guards just couldn't hit the side of a barn, and they were also just taking too many shots. Ade Mara had a great first half. He looked really good. He was playing over the top of a smaller defender. He hit 4 of his first 6 field goals. Tyler Bilodeau also came out firing. And yet here are the guards taking shots that should have been going to Bilodeau and Mara. This was just a very underperforming UCLA backcourt all season long. So just a very dismal season for UCLA. Again, winning an NCAA tournament game, getting to the round of 32, at most programs, that's a decent season. Not at UCLA.
Got you on that. Matt Zemek is with us. Jason Powers, you got anything for Matt here while we have him for a few more moments on this Saturday night after the round of 32 plays?
Yeah. Give me a thought again. Back to real quick on UCLA. TJ and I talked yesterday. Sean Farnham made the comment: there ain't a pro in sight on this team. Recruiting needs to get better. There's no elite players on this roster. Your take?
100%. Mara could become something special, but he's kind of a project, right? He's not ready now. but he could develop into somebody. But like, you need elite shooters, right? If you have a 7'3" big man on the floor, you need elite shooters so that when teams double and triple Mara in the low post and he kicks it out, you have a reliable guy. Like Chaz Lanier is the guy UCLA needs to have on its roster. That's the piece of the puzzle that UCLA very clearly lacks. You need some snipers, and UCLA does not have snipers. Sky Clark, Sebastian Mack, Eric Daly, woof.
Hey, a quick thought, because Mick Cronin's name's being kicked around, maybe for the Villanova job, etc. UCLA is still a blue blood premier job. However, it's now disconnected from a lot of the conference, and the travel's a mess. Do you think Mick Cronin, what do you perceive? Might he be interested in doing something else, or do you think he's pretty firm, at least for next year, to stick around?
So my sense of the situation is that Mick Cronin likes being at UCLA. I think he seems to understand that it's a blue blood premier job. Like, it was a step up from Cincinnati, and he's already made the Final Four at UCLA. Obviously, he did it in kind of a Cinderella-like way, but nevertheless, like, he got there. And so I think he seems to appreciate what he has. I don't think he's going to chase another job. That's my sense. But we did see him just rail against the Big Ten travel schedule and alignment. So if he wants to make a move, and with all those Eastern and Midwestern jobs available, it would not be the most surprising thing in the world. But if you ask me, put a gun to my head, I think he's staying. But like, I would not be shocked by any means if he chose to leave.
Adam Zagoria reported he was near the top of Villanova's wish list, whatever that means, back when they fired Kyle Neptune earlier in the week. There's some belief that Chris Collins makes a lot of sense, the Northwestern coach. Who knows what Villanova does? The Big East would obviously be attractive. We'll see. We'll see on UCLA. We have you for a couple more minutes. Yeah, go ahead. Finish up.
My sense with the Villanova job, it's Kevin Willard. I think he's the favorite right now. He would be the favorite on my board, given what he said about Maryland's penny pinching ways, and Villanova seems to be making a run at him. Now, whether that gets finalized or not, I don't know. But right now, he'd be my favorite for Villanova.
A couple more. I want your take. The upset of the tournament, not just today, has to be Arkansas over St. John's. Matt, your thoughts on the job that John Calipari's team did today, knocking out the beast of the Big East, St. John's?
So Boogie Flan came back for this tournament, and it wasn't necessarily the thing that put Arkansas over the top, but a commentator made this point, and it's a really good one, that when Boogie Flan got injured midway through the season, that actually forced John Calipari to adjust what he expected from the roster, what his demands were for each player, and that enabled John Calipari to adjust the way Janelle Davis, the transfer from Florida Atlantic, plays. And Janelle Davis has steadily improved as Arkansas has improved over the second half of the season. So it was kind of it was an accident. Like, it was not something John Calipari was counting on, but when it happened, he made the right adjustments. And so, and some people have said this is his best coaching job ever. Let's pump the brakes on that one. Okay. 2011 with that Kentucky team, the year after he had DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall, right. He didn't have nearly as much talent in 2011, but he got that team to the Final Four. I'd say that's probably his best coaching job ever. And in terms of an NCAA tournament coaching job, just the tournament, 2014, getting that 8 seed at Kentucky to the national championship game against UConn. So this has been really good. And like, we were all shoveling dirt on Calipari. I was in late January. I was calling him like the Jimbo Fisher of college basketball. Lost his fastball. Well, Calipari served me a heaping plate of crow. He still has that fastball, but let's just keep the things a little bit in perspective here.
He just won 2 more NCAA tournament games than he's won. He's won 1 NCAA tournament game the last 4 years before this tournament and this little run right here. What about the St. John's controversy with R.J. Lewis, the leading scorer in the Big East, benched for some of the game, benched for the final 4.5 minutes of the game? There's no declaration that he was hurt. This is a coach's decision. Bizarre when the game was right there for the taking. What is your take, Matt, on that situation with Rick Pitino icing his number one star and leading scorer?
Yeah, I mean, until we find out more, this is a real puzzler, to be sure. It really does make you wonder what was going on, what was happening, because it's not as though St. John's effort in this game was deficient. The effort was there. 28 offensive rebounds and committed only 6 turnovers. Like, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of toughness, in terms of passion, St. John's was still doing things the right way. It just had an incredibly bad shooting game, which, that was the Achilles heel for this team all season long.
And you
can't shoot the three, can't shoot in general. And if St. John's was going to lose to a non-Florida team, it was going to be exactly like this. Just couldn't hit the ocean from the shore. So it does make you wonder why bench RJ Lewis, when his effort was right there with the rest of his teammates. The effort was sound. The effort was laudable. Just couldn't hit anything. You don't bench players just because they can't make shots. I'll be very interested to know what else might have been going on behind the scenes.
I can tell you, it appears to just be coach's decision. He didn't want to play him, and whether it was lack of effort on defense, whether it was not involving others on offense, he iced him. He iced his own guy, and they lost the game. Jason, you got one more thing real quick?
And how about in combination with Cardari Richmond doing nothing and fouling out with 7-8 minutes left in the game, you combination that with the Luis situation, a catastrophe for St. John's.
All right. A couple of more. Again, Gonzaga being beaten tonight by Houston. Again, they were valiant in the comeback, and Matt, you were explaining this. That snaps the 9 consecutive Sweet 16 appearances at 9 tonight. What is it? Dean Smith in North Carolina was 11 straight for the record.
13.
Or 13 straight, my bad. 9 correct for Gonzaga, so that goes down tonight. They were valiant, but Houston held them off tonight. Just say something about that real quick, and then I want to move on to Sunday with you. Go ahead.
Eerie parallels between this round of 32 game for Houston and last year's round of 32 game. Houston should have beaten Texas A&M comfortably, but played with its food final few minutes. So the difference, though, Houston didn't go to overtime in this game, unlike Texas A&M a year ago. And so now is turning to the Sweet 16. A year ago, Houston was the favorite to advance out of its region, going to the regional semifinals. Jamal Shedd gets injured against Duke. It wasn't Kelvin Sampson having a bad coaching night. It wasn't his players failing to execute. They lost their dude. They lost their superstar. Right. So the main key for Houston, no big injuries. I think Houston has just better dudes, better athleticism, better toughness, better everything than Purdue. The tricky part, it's in Indianapolis. It's going to be a road game. Yeah. But road game, home game doesn't really matter if you have bigger, better dudes at all 5 spots on the floor. I expect Houston to advance.
Jawan Roberts played well enough, again, with the injured ankle. He's now got some more time to rest it. Purdue looked really good, wiped out McNeese today, and again, it will be kind of a home away from home. It's about an hour from West Lafayette to Indianapolis. Matt, take 60 seconds and tell me about Sunday that has Duke in action with Baylor. It has Alabama in action with St. Mary's. That's a
West Coast, Oregon, Arizona.
Right, in the West, it's got Oregon and Arizona playing in Seattle, but it's the East bracket. That's weird. Florida, the top seed, will play UConn. Michigan State, the 2 seed of the South, will play New Mexico. I know I rapid-fire put a lot in front of you. Pick out a thing or two that you're interested in for Sunday in the preview mode, Matt.
Okay, 60 seconds. So first off, early game, brunch basketball. The 2-time defending national champions against the team many think is playing the best basketball in the tournament and is the favorite to win it all. UConn, Florida. Just what a sexy game. Can't believe it's the early game. Thought it would be in that 60 minutes slot at 5:15. But anyway, a tremendous game there. Illinois, Kentucky could be the most fun game. Like that could be BYU-Wisconsin part 2.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Oregon, Arizona in Seattle, Pac-12 flavor all the way around. It's hard for me to go against Dana Altman in March. I give Oregon the edge. You saw Oregon be businesslike once it got to the NCAA tournament. No more playing with its food the way it did the whole season.
They have
Sheltad,
size.
Biddle, there's high-end talent there. I like Oregon.
They have size. They have guards. Can St. Mary's, give me a quick answer, can St. Mary's hang with Alabama? Can they slow it down enough to make it interesting? They can't go up and down with Alabama in that game.
Okay, as college basketball historians, I'm sure you remember Loyola Marymount against Alabama, 1990 West Regional Semifinals in Oakland. You had the go LMU team with Paul Westhead against Wimp Sanderson, just slowing it down, and Wimp won the tempo battle there. He turned it into a grinder, and it was a close game, but LMU barely won because of its skill. But like that reminds me of this St. Mary's Alabama game. St. Mary's is the tortoise, Alabama's the hare. Like St. Mary's is as slow paced as it gets in this sport, and Alabama is as fast paced. So like you like clashes of styles, you like Everett versus Navratilova. This is the game for you. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens.
Yeah, that game will be about 6 Eastern time, and you make a great point. That's 35 years ago, and the irony, it was Alabama slowing Loyola Marymount down. Now they want to go themselves with St. Mary's. Listen, great stuff. They need to read you at collegewire.com for Matt Zemek, as well as UCLA Wire for the recap of the UCLA-Tennessee game. We'll have you back aboard, and you and Ari Russell have been doing a great job coming on as well and hosting here on the College Basketball Coast to Coast social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Great stuff tonight on the Saturday recap. Thank you, my friend.
You got it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Love it. There you go. There's Matt Zemek with us. We love his insight. Jason Powers will stay here for a few more moments. What did we not cover? We didn't talk enough probably about the Big Ten flexing its muscle. Again, win
Dusty
for
May.
Michigan. Yep, a win for Michigan. Say some more about Dusty May and the job that he has done. 8-win season last year. Now they turn around, win the Big Ten tournament. They're in the Sweet 16.
How about this stat for Michigan? The last 9 times they've made the tournament, they've made the Sweet 16. How about that? And Indiana is going to rue the day. And I said this to you on a text that they didn't hire Dusty May last year. This guy can coach, and the art of the big men. They have 2 big men, Golden and Wolf, and that's going to be. You can still win games in college with big men. You don't have to have the electric guards. The domination that they provided on the boards, the changing of shots in the lane, those 2 guys combined, that's a threat to be aware of.
Their combined numbers against Texas A&M, they combined for 37 points, 21 rebounds, 6 blocks, and 5 assists. That high-low combination. And Michigan got 26 more from Roddy Gale.
Yep.
In the game, they again scored 56 second half points on Texas A&M. They reversed about a 4 or 5 point deficit, and they won easily by 12. Michigan will now play Auburn in Atlanta, as we mentioned earlier in the show.
And again, Michigan's downfall could be the turnovers. They're very loose with the ball, and Auburn obviously is a very good defensive team. But if this turns into a slower pace game, if they can contain the ball a little bit as far as not turning the ball over, those 2 bigs can give Cardwell and Broome all they can handle.
9 turnovers in the win over Texas.
That's good.
And elsewhere in the Big Ten, again, UCLA beaten tonight. That's a Big Ten loss. Wisconsin beaten tonight, but Purdue won earlier. What does that make the Big Ten now? 10-2 in the tournament to this point. Again, Michigan State playing tomorrow. Oregon now in the Big Ten is playing tomorrow. Maryland in the Big Ten is playing tomorrow with Colorado State. Big Ten's got a chance to get numerous teams, including Michigan State with New Mexico, into the Sweet 16. I really thought they were deserving to have at least Indiana, if not Indiana and Ohio State in this tournament. That's being borne out by how the Big Ten teams are playing in the tournament. I know some want to separate that the tournament doesn't indicate who deserved to be in. If your conference is going to start 8-0 and 10-2 in the first part of it, and stay tuned for tomorrow, maybe you deserve a 9th team as opposed to the 14th SEC team. Do you buy that?
I totally buy that. No doubt about it. That's a great point. And again, The Big Ten, they get ripped all the time for, this and that. But boy, they're good tournament teams and they're good tournament coaches and they know how to win games. And again, tomorrow's going to be a great Maryland. I think Maryland's a threat in that region. Maryland's going to be able to give potentially Florida a run for their money if they can win tomorrow. So
the red-hot Colorado State team tomorrow,
Yep.
but they run into a Maryland team again. I think I went back and looked at it, and with their win in the opening round of the Big Ten tournament, their win in this NCAA tournament, I believe they have won 14 of their last 16 games. So this
Yep.
Maryland team with Derek Queen, the freshman big man,
Yep.
with the scorers on the outside for Kevin Willard. That's going to be a tough assignment for a hot Colorado State team that's a good three-point shooting team. Again, this game all the way out in Seattle for Maryland, and the winner gets the winner of Florida and UConn. But the Big Ten's already assured that they have two teams in the Sweet 16 right now with Purdue and Michigan. They could get what, 1, 2. Illinois makes 3, 4.
Michigan State
makes. They could get 4 more teams in the Sweet 16, depending on the Illinois-Kentucky result. Michigan State, New Mexico, Oregon, Arizona, as well as Maryland,
Illinois, Kentucky. Yep.
And Colorado State. Those 4 matchups that have Big Ten teams.
And I know there's going to be a lot of people around the country at about 12:15 tomorrow, hoping Florida puts it to Danny Hurley and the Connecticut Huskies to put them out of their misery, because I sure am hoping Florida lays the wood.
I know you were saying that on the show last night in the aftermath of Florida and UConn's wins. Connecticut's won 13 NCAA tournament games in a row. That is matching the most in a row since Duke won 13 in a row after winning the 91 and 92 national titles. They won their first game in 1993. It's going to be a tough assignment with a Florida team that, again, is loaded with scorers. Their bigs can go out and shoot the three. They've got Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin, veteran guards that can score. Let's see for Florida, Connecticut. I hearken back, Matt loves to go nostalgic. I hearken back to Florida's Final Four appearance in 1994. That Final Four appearance ticket punched by beating Jim Calhoun's UConn team in Miami for Florida to go to the Final Four in Charlotte. Now it is some 31 years later. My God, Jason, I'm getting old. That Florida will play UConn on Sunday afternoon in Raleigh, North Carolina. The Florida-UConn game is the first game up on the floor. 1 versus 8. Duke in the 1-9 game with Baylor is the second game on the floor. We got 2 1 seeds in Raleigh tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And again, I think that Alabama St. Mary's game is going to be a great can Randy Bennett, can he contain? They're the best rebounding team in America. We know Bama likes to shoot quick and fast and often. Can St. Mary's minimize the possessions by ending the possession by getting the rebound? If they can do that, again, you got to make some threes on the other end. I get it. You got to score. You got to be able to get to probably 65. But if St. Mary's can clean up the defensive glass and make it a one-shot possession for Alabama when they do miss, I think they're going to have an opportunity because they got some skilled bigs. They got some big men that can score, and Bama's not very good defensively. So keep an eye out on the defensive rebounding for St. Mary's, and can St. Mary's get to 65?
A couple of more moments here on this Saturday night, college basketball coast to coast. We are live here on the social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter as well. By the way, we are brought to you by our friends at Ticket Smarter and the Ticket Smarter mobile app. They are proud sponsors of what we do here. A reminder that you can use our promo code COAST20 on Ticket Smarter and save $20 off an order of $300 or more. We encourage you to utilize that promo code to think smarter with Ticket Smarter. Best prices on the secondary market, as we keep saying here with Ticket Smarter and the Ticket Smarter mobile app, as they are they're proud sponsors with us.
There will be some tough tickets next week in Atlanta, in Indianapolis, with Purdue and Auburn basically having home games in those arenas. So you can utilize the promo code for MLB, hockey playoffs, all NBA, theater, concerts, whatever it is.
I love it. Look at you picking up the promo. You see it on our screen live. Ticket Smarter. Best prices on the secondary market, whether you're talking about the games in Atlanta, the games
Newark.
in Cleveland for tomorrow or next week
Yep.
in Atlanta. I'm sorry, for tomorrow in Raleigh or in
Yep.
Cleveland or any of these different sites,
Seattle.
etc. Utilize TicketSmarter, the TicketSmarter mobile app. But next week for Atlanta, for Newark, for Indianapolis, for San Francisco, TicketSmarter, get in the game with TicketSmarter. Promo code COAST20, as you see on the screen. Use that code as much as you want for $20 off your $300 or more order.
And the ultimate one, TJ, on the Alamo, where you're going to be. TicketSmarter for your Final Four tickets.
San Antonio, we love it. For the Final Four with TicketSmarter. Say something on that. The two games we really didn't go over in touching on the look ahead to Sunday are Michigan State and New Mexico. Will Richard Pitino, son of Rick Pitino, will they have something as the Mountain West regular season champs for the 2-seed Michigan State? And also Ole Miss and Iowa State are battling. Ole Miss off the North Carolina win. Iowa State won easily with Lipscomb out of the Big 12. We already see Houston, Texas Tech, and BYU in the Sweet 16. Can Iowa State possibly join them with a win over Ole Miss? Look ahead a little bit on those games.
I think that'll be a barn-burning kind of game. I mean, Chris Beard's an excellent tournament coach. TJ Altenberger from Iowa State. Remember, they're missing their guards out for the tournament. Gibson, I believe. Is it Keyshawn Gibson?
Keyshawn Gilbert. Correct.
So he's not available, but boy, they played really well the other day. And in that other game, the Michigan State, New Mexico, you got Donovan Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph, kind of an inside-outside punch for New Mexico. And you just got a variety of different guys from Michigan State. They don't have a star player. Jace Richardson's probably the guy you recognize the most. They want to get up and down. It'll be interesting to see if Pitino wants to go up and down with them. I think Michigan State will figure out a way to get through. I like Ole Miss tomorrow, and a little bit of an upset. I like Ole Miss to get to the Sweet 16 over Iowa State.
All right. I think we are good as we look ahead to Sunday and everything that is going to take place with 8 more spots in the Sweet 16. Can you believe we will be down to 16 teams by this time tomorrow night? Again, how many will the SEC get? They've already got Auburn, Arkansas, and Tennessee in the Sweet 16. Opportunities again for Alabama, Kentucky, Florida, and who's the one other one? Ole Miss. So there are 4 more spots, 4 more chances for the Southeastern Conference. Again, for the Big Ten, they have Michigan State, Illinois, Oregon, and Maryland that still have chances to get in the Sweet 16 to join their teams that are there, which are Michigan and Purdue so far that have made their way in to the Sweet 16. Listen, great stuff. Jason Powers here on a Saturday night. We've covered it. Once again on college basketball, Coast to Coast, we need to rest. We need to reload because Florida and UConn are up in about 12 hours in Raleigh, followed by Duke and Baylor. The 2 number 1 seeds are playing right away, and the barrage of 8 games will be underway with that. My friend, we'll catch up again off the weekend, off the games on Sunday and off the weekend, and we'll know the Sweet 16 by this time tomorrow night. Thank you, Jason Powers.
I promise I'll be back in the home office tomorrow night, not on the road with the people.
We look forward to that. We thank you for finding us as well, however you have done so on social media. The podcast, again, for college basketball coast to coast, the TuneIn channel as well, all the way through the tournament, all the way to the Final Four, where we'll be live in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome for everything that's going to happen in the Riverwalk and San Antonio for the Final Four in 2 weeks. For now, we're good on a Saturday night. 8 pieces to the puzzle in the Sweet 16 are solved. 8 more on Sunday. We can't wait on college basketball coast to coast. Good night.